Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, professor of physics at Luther College, and we are bringing you a weekly update on what to look for in the night sky. So this week we're talking about the week of October 18th, 2021. So getting close to the end of October, we've made it into fall pretty well. Haven't had a lot of fall-like weather where I am, but we're getting there in northeast Iowa. And today we're going to do what we do almost all the time. So we're going to look back at some old ideas and riff on those old ideas and wrap some new ideas into the old ideas. And we're going to talk about the Orionid meteor shower that's coming up this week. Not a great year to see it because of the moon. So it's not going to be an ideal year, but we're going to talk about it anyway and talk about some ideas related to meteor showers that we've covered before with other meteor showers, but also the fact that it's the Orion is, I can't spell Rigel. Orion is high in the sky after midnight now. So once we get past midnight and work our way toward morning, Orion's climbing into the sky. So I go outside with the dog at 12:30 in the morning off in my time, and I see Orion climbing over the hills in the east. And by the time I go out with the dog again at 4:30 in the morning, what I see is Orion well up into the sky to the southeast. So moving across there, we think of Orion as a winter constellation, often here in the northern hemisphere, and is really well placed in the evening sky to observe in, say, December, January, February. Great to observe Orion. And so it really is a marker of the winter sky if you're out as an evening observer. But this is just a reminder, like we talked about just last week, and go back and watch that video as we talk about this. We talk about this a lot. A reminder that we see a lot of the sky in any one night, and Orion is really well placed right now. Now, a meteor shower, as you might recall, there are two kinds of meteors. There are sporadic meteors or random meteors that come from debris that's floating around the solar system. Some of it may be all the way from the origin of the solar system. Some of it may be things that were blasted off of asteroids or other planets or something like that. But it's little pieces of stuff that's flying around. When we intercept that stuff, it hits our atmosphere and burns up, and you get a sporadic meteor. And so that means it's not coming from any one place. It's random in its origin. And so we just see these things around the sky, and you can see 10 of these an hour, maybe, if you're out, is a good thing to think about. So 10 to 15 an hour, maybe, if it's really dark sky. If you got a really dark sky, you're gonna see these coming from all different directions across the sky. That's different from a meteor shower. A meteor shower is debris from a comet. It's boiled off a comet. It's left behind. It stays in the orbital path of the comet, and when our orbit intercepts the orbital path of that comet, we hit that debris cloud and we get a lot more meteors, okay? Now, the Orionids are never a great meteor shower, but they will, if you're seeing 10 to 15 meteors per hour sporadically, the Orionids can add 10 to 15 to maybe 20 on top of that, but they all look like they're coming from one spot where our orbit is intercepting that debris cloud. Think of that debris tunnel. So it's a tunnel of debris like that, and there can be debris spread out for a long ways, and it depends on what angle we hit that debris tunnel as to how intense that shower is, how long lasting that shower is, how all sorts of things that shower is. And so we're going to hit that debris cloud. We're already hitting that debris cloud as I'm taping this. A little secret. I'm taping this on October 13th for the next week ahead in October 18th, and we're already seeing Orionid meteor showers. If you are out counting meteors and doing a careful job of marking these things down, and I don't know why you're not, I don't know why I'm not, well, it's raining right now, but in any event, and it's daytime, but other than those things, this is, you could be seeing these. You could be tracing where you think these things came from, counting meteors, and noting that maybe you're seeing a little bit above normal background of meteors, and then if you add them up, you'll see that several each night that you're out observing are coming from the region of Orion. We call that the radiant, where these things originate, and the radiant for the Orionids is up here above past Betelgeuse. So if you go from Rigel up to Betelgeuse, up in this region, is where you're going to see that radiant. And the meteors will look like they've come from that point no matter what direction they're going. They may be way across the sky, but you can see them here coming from that direction. One of the interesting things about the Orionids, they're named for the constellation where the radiant is, Orion. And so one of the interesting things about them is the parent comet that left that debris is Comet Halley, so a famous comet. And so that's something interesting when you're out there looking at them or looking for them to think about. Now the problem we have this year is the moon is big and bright, and so we'll wash out the sky, and you'll only see the biggest, brightest of the meteors. Most of the meteors will be washed away, and you won't see them. It's just very difficult time to observe meteors like that with so much brightening of the sky from the nearly full moon all week. The moon, the peak of the Orionid meteor shower is on the 21st, the morning of the 21st, but the moon is also full on the night of the 20th into the 21st. And so this is not a great time to be observing these meteors. And so I'm going to recommend that if you go out and you try to observe these meteors, I recommend you do. Why not? And enjoy seeing this region of the sky. Orion, the belt of Orion, Betelgeuse, the bright shoulder star, Rigel, the leg star down here, the red star and the bluish star. Find Aldebaran in Taurus the Bull up this direction, and then up above Betelgeuse, more or less straight on up toward the north is Capella. And find Capella and Auriga up that direction. So refamiliarize yourself with the stars of winter, as we call them here in the Northern Hemisphere. And so think about these stars and go out and look at them. But I'm going to recommend, instead of going out on the morning of the 21st, go ahead and go out if you want to, but sometime after midnight, between midnight and 6 a.m., and probably closer to dawn is better, go out earlier in the week. Go out on the morning of the 19th, might be the best morning to go out on the Tuesday before the peak. Why? Because the peak is big and broad, okay? This is a big tube of stuff that we're flying through, and it's not a very sharp peak typically for the Orionids. We encounter these things more or less the whole month of October, and right on into November even maybe. And so we're seeing these things, and it's a gradual build up to the peak. And so you will see meteors, and it's not going to be that many fewer meteors earlier in the week. But the thing about earlier in the week is the moon is much further away from the radiant and lower in the sky in the morning. So if you're out in the morning of the 19th, a couple of days before peak, the moon is going to be halfway across the sky away from where that radiant is. So, full 90 degrees away from the radiant. It's going to be pretty low by the time we get to morning. It's going to be pretty low on the western horizon. So if you're out at 5 in the morning of the 19th, my guess is that's going to be your best bet to see Orionid meteors this year, because you have less moon interference than you're going to have the next day or two. And even though we're a little bit further away from peak, but that peak is big and broad. And for you to get a feel for that, I'm going to send you to Zooniverse. I don't know if you've never been to Zooniverse, but you should go look at the astronomy stuff there. So if you go to Zooniverse website and search Orionid 2020, last year's meteor shower, they have a graph there that graphs the rate of these things. They do a good job of trying to subtract out the background sporadic meteors that people are reporting, just counting and throwing in there and counting, and you'll see. Then they subtract those out and they say, here are the Orionids that are left over from last year's peak. And you'll see that the peak, each night when the radiant was high in the sky, so you could see this, 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning we're talking about right now. And so you can see the actual peak for that night, when the radiant's well up in the sky and it's dark. You can see that the number of Orionid meteors that they showed last year was about the same 4 nights in a row. And so we had about 4 nights of pretty steady on, and that rate was about equal to the sporadic background rate. Somewhere between 10 and 15 sporadic background meteors, somewhere between 10 and 15 Orionid meteors. And so that suggests that the 19th is probably a good morning, and the 18th might even be a pretty good morning. So that's my recommendation for the week ahead. Do go out, do think about Comet Halley, do think about the stars of winter showing up in the morning sky here as we get toward mid-fall. Do go look at this graph of the meteor rate of the Orionids from 2020 at the Zooniverse website. And then think about getting out earlier in the week to see this. Now, if you're out later in the week, the moon will be getting closer and closer and closer over this direction. So as you get out, sort of the morning of the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th, watch the moon, still full, past full now, but still really full and bright. Watch it slide past Aldebaran here. On the morning of the 24th, I think is the morning, it's going to be really pretty close to Aldebaran. You'll have the moon in here. And by the morning of the 25th, it'll be here between Betelgeuse and Capella. And so you'll have a nice setting of the moon, a big bright moon with big bright stars in this region late in the week. So go ahead and check out the moon and those bright stars too. If it's going to mess up your observing of meteors, you might as well enjoy seeing it dance among the bright stars. So that's what we got this week. Good luck, everybody. I hope you have fun and good observing, and we'll have something new and different for you next week. Or really, probably more or less the same.